That's right, Metal Summoners. Our screams have broken the silence. You've woken from your dead at night. And of course, now that you've found what you're looking for, listen in awe as you will hear the Metal Summit, as we're going to have an absolutely killer episode tonight, as always. We really appreciate you guys rocking out with us, hanging out with us. Welcome back to your Island of Misfit Toys, myself and Angel, and also working the back scenes, of course, our beloved Psycho Steve. But we're going to have a great one as always. We're going to jump right into it, have a little bit of fun. We've got Joe Davis joining us. We've got the Joe Davis Band rocking out with us for a little bit this evening. It's going to be an absolute great time as always. Joe, first and foremost, man, thank you so much for taking a little time out of your evening, my friend. Welcome to the Metal Summit.
I am greatly appreciate you guys having me on here. It means a lot. It does. It does. We like getting on here and talking and sharing our insane Southern heavy metal madness with everybody.
Absolutely, man. We're definitely happy to hear all about that. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, man. But Angel, why don't you kick us off a little bit this evening, man? Because, you know, unfortunately, we have a little something to talk about for a few minutes. We lost one of the greats, one of the legends. We must take a moment to pay our respects. So why don't you kick us off, my friend?
And I found out through a coworker. And believe it or not, my coworkers know I love rock music, and they kind of let me know about it. And I mean, 2 weeks ago, we saw him on stage kicking ass, and I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes or about his health, but it seems like that's the way he wanted to go out. He did not want people not knowing, and we're glad that he did that show. Instead of doing another farewell tour, they just did one big farewell show, and I think this is goodbye. But my favorite memory was the No More Tears album. Just kind of seeing that video for like the first time, and just how cool that whole video was, and just the musicians he had in his band throughout the years. People out, like we had Jimmy Bell on. He mentioned auditioning for Ozzy. Of course, that gig went to Zakk Wylde. Ooh, it's kind of like losing your dad in a way. It's kind of like losing that cool dad that you had.
Like really cool uncle.
The world's definitely a different place today. There's no doubt about it. The whole world's a different place.
Absolutely, yep. Joe, 100%, man. Joe, what are some of your fondest memories, man? Do you have like a particular album or era that you're a big fan of when it comes to Ozzy?
Man, there's so much to tell on that, because I mean, when I started playing guitar a long time ago, I think heavy metal music, when it was first entered, I first seen it or heard anything, it was, immediately it was Black Sabbath. I mean, I think that was like everybody's, and it was the beginning of heavy metal. And it started this thing where, like, it actually was so big and powerful. It's inspiring people to this day. I mean, it was huge what they did, and it's nonstop. It's just going to go on eternal. It's what they built is just unbelievable, just outreaching. And but Ozzy, I think that was we sold our souls for rock and roll, and then we, of course, like Paranoid and all the Black Sabbath albums. When me and all my friends growing up, we were all just completely into Ozzy and Black Sabbath, and we listened to everything that came out. I mean, as soon as Blizzard of Oz hit, we were like, that's great. We're on that, and we had to have it. And then it was the same way with everything Ozzy ever did. I think that we were all big Ozzy fans, it was inspiring in music as well as being a musician and being a songwriter, especially wanting to be in heavy metal music, and Ozzy being that super influence in all ways too, and not just shows, his songwriting, his persona. And somebody asked me the other day, said, well, there's a lot of people that didn't know him. I said, I think everybody knew him. I think everybody that his outreach was so powerful on people that, I mean, we all felt like we all felt like he was in our living room with us there all the time. I mean, he was always with us, all of us. And It was a heck of an outreach.
You know,
Absolutely. I mean, with the Osborne show alone, he was in our living room.
It was, yeah, and it was that, and long before that, though.
Of
But
course.
when the albums came out, and we used to go see Ozzy and play
yeah.
and everything, and it was like, it was like I remember going to see we seen Ozzy about every time he came through, and down here in Charlotte, that was a big deal. I mean, because back in the day when Ozzy would come through, he would be picketed by all the Christian groups or whatever, would go down there and block the buses and put up signs and all this stuff. And we were just there to see Ozzy. And the craziest thing about it was when we'd go see him, though, the weirdest thing, or maybe the greatest thing, was it was always you felt like you were celebrating something. And we didn't really know what, but it was like everybody was there, like, we're all here to see Ozzy, man. Everybody was here to see Ozzy. And so it always felt like you were celebrating something. Like I said, I don't know what, but it wasn't just a party. It was like, hey, this music, it's timeless, it's real, it's Ozzy. He's like, we're all like one big family or something, one big thing. And so I think that's what, the takeaway on Ozzy is, Ozzy's eternal, man. He's going to go on forever. His power, his outreach, his music is just going to go on. I mean, it was just so powerful. The whole thing,
Absolutely.
Whether
No. 100%. Absolutely. You hit it right on the head there, Joe, with all of that. What's up, Adam? What's up, Tina? What's up, Lisa? Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. When it came to like Ozzy and stuff like that, it's like, I love Sabbath as much as the next person. Paranoid is awesome. I'm a big Children of the Grave fan, specifically is my favorite song from the Sabbath era. I'm myself personally more fond of Ozzy's solo work. They were more my style. It was just a little bit more what I like in things and overall musical stylings. So I'm particularly a big Ozzy solo guy. I mean, with the stuff that he did with Randy Rhoads is absolutely amazing. Me personally, though, I'm a really big Ultimate Sin fan. I mean, I will die on the hill for that fight that might be Ozzy's best album, because I also really love the work that he did with Jakey Lee. And the thing that's really interesting as well, and I had this conversation with friends and my lady recently, was that the thing that's so crazy as well is with the passing of Randy Rhoads in the plane crash, had that not happened, the curiosity question is do we get the albums Bark in the Moon and Ultimate Sin at all? Because those were very heavily written by Jakey Lee. And if Randy doesn't pass away, there probably is no Jakey Lee in Ozzy. So there's a good chance that those songs, those records could have been Badlands albums or Jakey Lee solo albums or things like that. But I mean, I love those records, that particular era so much, when it was like, Phil Susan on bass and, Randy Castillo on drums, and then of course Jakey Lee. But love Bark at the Moon. Bark at the Moon is absolutely amazing. But I ride that killer wave, man, for the Ultimate Sin. I just love that record to death. But then I also love the latter, like early 2000 stuff that he was doing with like the Black Rain album and the Let Me Hear You Scream, because in the time that Zach was out of the band for a little while, focusing on Black Label Society, I thought that Gus G did a great job, in a new kind of guitar, like breath of fresh air. I loved what Gus was doing. And I'm also just a really big Blasco fan. I mean, it's so awesome to see him back in Rob Zombie, being that he was Rob Zombie's original bass player for the solo stuff with Hellbilly Deluxe and the Sinister Urge. I love seeing Blasco back there. But I'm also just a Blasco fan, and I loved seeing him in Ozzy.
Yeah. Blasco's he's a good guy. I've talked to him several times. He's a really good guy.
Oh, nice. I've always wanted to meet him.
Yeah, he's real open-minded to new music and new music ventures and things like that. And we spent a lot of time talking years ago, just throwing ideas back and forth. A long time ago, and I think he was actually playing with Ozzy back then. And but I always felt some kind of the last, I don't know, about 10 years ago, I started working with a gentleman by the name of Pete Resty. Pete Resty worked for Don Arden, who was Sharon Osbourne's father. And Pete was the guitar tech for Black Sabbath for 27 years.
Oh, wow.
And Pete was not only was he my roommate, he was my best friend in the whole world. And I would sit at night. I mean, he would live with me here in Kannapolis, North Carolina. We'd sit here, and I would bug him about Ozzy. I would bug him about Black Sabbath. I would sit up with him all night and just talk about Ozzy and Sabbath, and I would wear his ears off his head talking about all that stuff. And he worked for a band called Manowar as well as Deep Purple with Richie Blackmore and Pete Tech for all these big names and everything. And Pete passed away a few years ago, but like when I see Ozzy and I see Sharon Osbourne and I see I see all the Sabbath stuff and Ozzy stuff going on, I always think about Pete because he was friends with Ozzy, and and I'd always be sitting here at night with him and I'd be like, call him, get him on the phone, let's talk and let's do something, and Pete would always be like, hey, kid, and but it was a really big thing when Pete passed away, that like the Sabbath road crew, Black Sabbath road crew, all those people got in touch with me, and I was blown away. And I got a phone call. I think it was a 2018 or 16 when Pete passed. I can't remember, and forgive me because I can't remember. But it was crazy because I was out in my backyard, and Bill Ward, the drummer from Black Sabbath, called here, and he called me and he said, "Are you Joe?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "Are you the guy that lived with Pete, lived with you or whatever?" And he was calling me from Las Vegas. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Man, yeah." And I said, "Pete passed away." He said, "That's what I was calling about. Did Peter pass away?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Where can I send flowers? Where can I send stuff?" And Pete was from Auburn, New York. And out of the Black Sabbath band itself, Bill Ward was the one that sent some flowers and things like that for Pete's funeral. And it was crazy. And it was really, but it was a lot of fun to spend years talking to Pete, so Pete worked for my band, but he also, he had worked for Sabbath. Like I said, he worked for Ozzy too. He was in and out of that camp a lot. And he wasn't exactly the biggest fan of Sharon Osbourne because, they had their, that was his employer. So I just leave it at that. And, but Pete worked for when they were doing Heaven and Hell with Black Sabbath with Ronnie Dio. Pete was working for him then too, and so the stories the guy would bring back home, and I'd be sitting there listening to him, going, "Man, that's amazing stuff." But he had a lot of great Ozzy stories, and I would sit, like I said, and just listen. And every time I think about Ozzy, and I think about Pete, and I think about Black Sabbath, and it all. Like the original road crew from Black Sabbath, I'm still friends with those guys, and I still talk to them, and because of the Pete thing, and there's actually some interviews we did with Pete before he passed on YouTube where we talked to him about different songs and different things, because Pete's name is actually in a Black Sabbath song.
Oh, wow.
And it's in the song Trashed off Born Again. And there's a lyric in there that says Pete in the Green. That's talking about Pete Resty. And the song Disturbing the Priest is about Pete. Because he was the one that was, he was working for Sabbath, and he was literally disturbing the priest because he was the pyrotechnics guy. And so while I'm on that subject, I don't mean to trail off any, but, it was just, always Ozzy. It was always I guess in everybody's heavy metal, hard rock career, the Ozzy thing, is always there because he was the biggest probably inspiration for all musicians, not just guitar players either. I mean, before we got on this thing tonight, I was trying to find. I actually have a framed letter from Ozzy.
Oh, wow.
It's framed. I can't find it. We'll do the show again, and I'll have it the next time. But it was one of those wonderful rejection letters that they sent out to all the guitar players in the world that sent in stuff, and so. Because Ozzy was just a big influence, on I think every hard rock, heavy metal guitar player, all those guitar players. I mean, it didn't matter if it was Joe Holmes or Zakk Wylde or whoever. Ozzy he always had great bands, he always had great players, and you think about the outreach of that. I mean, how many drummers he inspired, or how many bass players he inspired. I mean, that outreach is just unbelievable. The wake of Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath and all that is just, it will go on to the ends of time.
Yeah. No, that's super duper cool, man. No, I love that. And hearing that Pete worked with Man of War is super cool because my favorite guitar player in the world is actually playing in Man of War right now because I'm a big Michelangelo video.
He's great. That guy's great.
Yeah,
I used to have there's actually video if you go on YouTube and look up Man of War sets the world's record for the loudest band in the world.
Mhm.
And if you watch the MTV version of that where it's got the lady doing the interview, if you watch to the end of the video, Pete's running sound on the video.
Oh, really?
He's standing there on MTV mixing the audio. Yeah, and I was watching it last night because I was sending it to somebody. I said Pete was on the board when they did that. And I was like, God, it's awesome, And
absolutely. No, but I love that. I think that's so super cool, and that's so like special too. Like getting to talk to you on this interview that Angel and I are doing on all days with that news, to have our guests have such a close personal tie to the to Ozzy's camp and stuff like that. That's really, really cool, man. And Joe, that makes this a very, very special episode, man. So we really appreciate, you being our guest for this, man, for sure. But let's talk a little bit about yourself, man, and the Joe Davis Band, and talk a little bit about how your namesake band came to be.
Well, okay. I never wanted to be in a band that was named after myself, and I'll explain how that happened. But I've always played guitar. I've been playing guitar for many, many decades. And it got to be where I had been in so many different bands that had got so close to getting a really good record deal or doing some kind of great show or doing some kind of great thing. And it always got destroyed or disintegrated by people that didn't really want success. And so somewhere around 1998 or 1999, I started just kind of doing my own thing. And I was doing a cover band basically, and a record company approached me. Columbia Records approached me and said, "Why don't you, since you're writing these original songs, we'll put you in the studio, let you record a couple songs, and see how it goes. But we don't like the name of your cover band. Would you be interested in doing the Joe Davis Band?" And I was like, at this point, I mean, I've been doing this forever, so it's like, yeah, if you guys are going to put up money, I'll go in and cut the songs. And if you want to call it the Joe Davis Band, at this point, I just don't care. I just want to get up and play. You could call it anything. I just want to play. And so what happened was they were like, well, if you wanted to do that, we'll put the Joe Davis Band in the studio. And we recorded 4 songs with Columbia Records, and it was good. It was a great learning experience, but the band I had at the time we couldn't get it adjusted. And so I kind of just kept on. We didn't actually finish getting the deal or whatever. And I started developing my own ideas. The whole Les Pauls and overalls thing came from my former band, Dark Horse, that I was in out of Charlotte. We had a great band. We played together for years. We opened up for a ton of national acts. We opened up for all kinds of bands, did all kinds of stuff. We toured a lot. We gained a lot of experience. But then I started wanting to have more musical control. So I was okay with kind of taking on the vocal duties as well. And I started singing and I started writing my own stuff. And next thing you know, I'm cutting my own records. And I just said, well, this Joe Davis Band thing is just this, let's just call it that and let's just go. And it was basically like that. And it wasn't like I sat home and went, oh yeah, I'm Joe Davis, bow down and worship me. It wasn't like that. It was exactly the opposite. Actually, you find me falling down a flight of stairs somewhere, but it was like, we had to get on with it. We had been in every animal name, biblical name, we couldn't come up with any. I was just to the point, I don't have the time to keep looking up names. I just got to get on with it. And so it was just Joe Davis Band, let's go play. And it worked out. I think I have 6 albums or 7 albums out. One of the albums is actually real popular in the Southern rock genre. I'll explain that one in a minute. And we put out a DVD. We did a big show at the Fillmore. We put out a DVD, and that came out, and I think it was in 2014, and that really put us on the map. And things started really, and it's still developing. It's still ongoing and still growing. And musically, I'm all into the music part of it. A lot of people get into the rock star part of it, but I love music. I love sound and audio, and I love melodies and vocals and songs that move people. And that's what I'm more interested in than the limousines or BS and this stuff that other people are into. I'm not into that. I just like playing music. I've been playing guitar since I was 5 years old, and I could uh, tell you about my I ain't gonna get into that about the Ozzy. We were just talking about Ozzy and stuff, and I remember talking to Sharon Osbourne in 1994 about playing with Ozzy, and I was making a name for myself. I was playing all over the place. I was working in up and down the East Coast, and I was playing in Atlanta, and I was doing all these things. And this was back in, like I said, 93, 94. And I had met an entertainment lawyer that knew her, and I was just like sending him stuff, and he was sending that stuff to her. And then they, of course, sent me a couple letters and told me basically to buzz off after all that. And because in all reality, there was a lot of guitar players out there that can really play and they could do so much. And so Ozzy, he's Ozzy, he can do whatever he wants. So, but it was a great experience to get to meet and do business, during my career. So there's been a lot of ups and downs. Been a lot of, I played a lot of shows, played with a lot of people, good and bad. I've played from dumpy bar rooms to, race car tracks. So a slam full of people. So, I mean, we've done a variety of, basically everything we possibly could do at this point. So it's been one heck of a ride, but I live for guitar. I'm a guitar addict. I love Les Paul guitars, and I constantly spend all my time playing. I can't seem to stop. And I got
that
into
was actually going to be my follow-up, Joe, was because Angel and I love gear and we love talking about rig rundowns and stuff like that. And being that you mentioned earlier the whole Les Pauls and overalls thing, I was going to ask you, like, is Les Paul your specific guitar of choice? It sure does look like it.
I see my Cowboys from Hell logo on the back of this 93 Les Paul custom that I bought back in the day. And I'm a big fan of all heavy metal music. I love there's a lot of different types of genre of metal that I like. And I like incorporating stuff into my own music that I picked up and learned from different artists. I've seen, everybody's musically influenced by a ton of stuff. But I'm a Marshall Les Paul guy. I have a bunch of Marshalls, and I still run cabinets live, and I don't do none of this computer stuff. If I do a record, I do a record. I don't mess around with any of it. I don't like AI. I'm not a fan because I think it takes the human element out of it, and it's really crappy to create. I mean, there's probably some honesty if somebody's trying to create a particular thing or something maybe, but when it comes down to heart and soul and picking up your guitar and playing and singing, it's different. I take the what I consider the Warren Haynes aspect of it, because Warren was a big influence of mine. Warren Haynes from the Allman Brothers Band and Government Mule, and I bring that songwriting element that I learned from Warren into my heavy metal, into my hard rock, and I bring that in. I might have a song that's Delta blues and throw in the slide, but it's all a ton of distortion and noise. I mean, and I'll pull from the Jimi Hendrix side of the fence, and I'll pull from the, heavy metal, the Ozzy side of the fence if I have to. And but I love so much guitar playing. I mean, I made up with it. I spend all my time studying guitar, thinking about guitar, and I've been that way ever since I was a kid. I've been just fascinated with it, and I always will be. I mean, it's just my thing,
That's so awesome, man. That's absolutely killer.
I've had a heck of a ride. It's been a heck of a ride, and I appreciate you guys letting me come on here and talk about it, because we're always developing something. We're always developing something. Me and my drummer David are always writing, creating, coming up with all kinds of new heavy metal ideas, and we're working on. When COVID hit, it threw everybody a curveball.
Yeah,
because everybody could navigate in a situation where you don't know anything, what's happening, what ain't happening. So what happened was David basically, he moved back to Cleveland, Ohio. He played drums for me for like 9 years, and he moved back to Cleveland. And I was kind of heartbroken, but I was like, well, man, we can't do anything anyway. At the time when COVID hit, we had road crew people, like their parents were passing away and all kinds of relatives passing away and stuff. And it just threw us a big curveball. And we just slowed down to a crawl, where we just spent our time writing and being creative and not really going out and doing anything for a while. So But we love creating music. I think that's the biggest thing. Our main thing is creating, and then taking it live is just the fun part. We
Oh,
put on a
absolutely.
very high energy show. Yeah, it's real super high energy stuff. I mean, I'll definitely won't be able to walk, and I'll be hoarse after every gig. 'Cause I let them have it live, and
Well,
it's pretty intense.
oh, absolutely, for sure. And Angel, go ahead and pick it up right after this. Like, yeah, the COVID actually really birthed this show. And so the funny thing is when we formed this show, it was leading up to a festival in Maryland that they do every year called M3. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not, but it's the
Oh, yeah.
biggest 80s. Yeah, it's the biggest 80s rock festival in the country. That's like specifically dedicated to 80s rock. So at the time and the birth of the show, myself and Angel and our various co-hosts at the time, we wanted to interview musicians that had played the festival or were about to play the festival or are like considered very solidly part of that show, like that genre.
Right.
So, and it started off great. Our first episode was the current singer of Steven Adler's band, and third episode was like the guitar player from Autograph. We were fortunate to talk to Steve Brown from Trickster.
Oh, yeah.
So, all of that was super duper awesome. But the funny thing is, our third episode happens and COVID happened because the first Wednesday in March 2020 was our debut. And 3 weeks later, all the musicians and all of us as hosts, we were all out of work. So anyway,
Get it.
we at the time we kind of had a game plan for this show, and we were like, fuck, we really want this to be an interview show, and we know we can make it great, but like, man, these guys are busy and they tour and they do this and that. It might be a little difficult to get an interview every week. But then COVID happened and everybody's sitting at home. And so Angel and I, we took it upon ourselves to be very like, hey, we want, artists to feel welcome and wanted and stay relevant and talk about their histories and what they're doing right now. And so we were very fortunate to get to, to kind of strike while the iron was hot and get to reach out to people that might under normal circumstances be very, very tricky. And, we got to talk to Steve Lukather from Toto, which was awesome. So much fun. And speaking of Blasko, because he's actually the manager of the band, as I'm a big fan of these guys, the Black Veil Brides. And I reached out to their PR, and we were able to get the guitar player Jake from Black Veil Brides. And I was like, because I'd been pestering them for like an interview and stuff for like years, but they're really active, and obviously the bigger a band gets, the more like kind of the more picky they are about like who they do interviews with and stuff like that. But it was really cool to like kind of get to take advantage of getting a newer big band like that, because they're not out touring, they're not really doing anything. So COVID definitely allowed me and Angel to kind of spread our wings and really get into the interview game.
Well, the COVID thing actually is kind of how this interview actually. Let me explain. When we made a record, the Joe Davis Band made an album called The Blue and the Gray in 2020. We did not release the record hardly at all. We basically made the album, really never got it finished, mastered the way we wanted it. And we recorded it here at the house, and we made a couple little videos for it. But then the COVID thing, but the crazy thing about it was, fast forward a couple of years later, my former manager, a guy named Tony Inquinto, he passed away just a few months ago. He had went to Marianne at Rock Avenue Records back in December of last year and said, look, I work with Joe. Can you interested in putting out this album? These guys didn't release this record. We did not digitize this record. We did not put the album on the internet or anything. And I told Tony, I said, man, I don't know about another record label. I don't know about working with anybody. I just don't know. But after I talked to Lou and Marianne over at that record label, they were really nice folks, and they had some new ideas, a new take on it. So I signed with Rock Avenue Records for that particular album, and they are the reason we are talking because they put this together. Marianne was calling me just 3 days ago going, you don't miss that interview. And I'm like, I ain't gonna miss it. But we didn't. They wound up being kind of the curator of that record, that Blue and the Gray album, and so it's doing stuff. I mean, as soon as they took over, our Facebook and our emails went through the roof, and they started promoting things and doing things. And we were sitting back going, "Wow, this is pretty cool." I mean, we're actually getting some good moves out of this deal. So it was a really cool thing, and it led up to us meeting you. So
yeah,
even
no,
better.
we Angel and I love Marianne. Like, she's been so good to us. She's been very supportive of our show. Like, this is me and Angel's baby. I mean, we consider ourselves a fraternity. We've had a lot of frat boys as co-hosts of this show, and just because you're no longer a part of the show or you're no longer on, it doesn't mean you're still a member. Doesn't mean you're not a member of the fraternity. You're a member of the fraternity for life. But yeah, this is me and Angel's little baby, and we're very protective of this show and this brand, and we love to just talk shop, talk music, and make everybody feel wanted. And the thing that's always that Angel and I learned early on is that the best interviews are interviews like this. They're organic, they're fun, they're like you're sitting on your couch, having a drink and talking, just like you and Pete did when you were bugging him about Ozzy and Sabbath. Just sitting, having a drink, and having good conversations. They make for the best organic conversations, man. And what's up, Amy? Thank you so much for tuning in. What's up, Front Row? And Angel, take it away, my friend.
Hey, dude, we booked this interview 2 months ago, which is funny because then I was like, the name looks, because we have various labels and artists that want to come on, and Marianne is one of them. God bless her for what she does for rock music. But then I was like, oh fuck, I got to remind Marianne about the upcoming interview, because we sometimes book interviews 2-3 months ahead.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't cross our mind that time flies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It does pile up. It does. I do quite a few interviews these days because we got that Hand of God is the release from the album that Rock Avenue had put out. So we did a couple really crazy interviews the last while. We've been doing, I don't know, 2 or 3 a week. It seems like 2 or 3 a day. Now it's 2 or 3 a week, and it's still branching out. So there's always, I think it's great though, because in the shows that you guys are doing, this is where the real music is coming from. This is where the real stuff is happening. The record companies in the old music business still put money behind artists and create artists and stick people out there to be, I don't want to say cookie cutter artists, but they still make a lot of products to sell to the people. And I like going to see a bunch of original bands on a bill. I'll pay to see that in a heartbeat. And I love it. I'll go to, we have a place in Spartanburg, South Carolina called Ground Zero. And the guy down there is fantastic at putting together original shows and original bands. And you can go down there and watch one of his shows and have the time of your life. And you may not know any of the bands, and it'll be just magic, because you'll see something completely unique. And that's what these shows like you guys are doing, is bringing these people together. And that's major. That's super important. It really is.
But also, I got to commend you. When I was pulling into the driveway, I was still playing Brink of Destruction.
Oh, wow.
And look, to me, that's like a favorite.
It's awesome, man. Thank you.
Because like I said, I mean, the cool thing about is that rock music is alive and well. If it wasn't for Marianne, I would not have heard such a great fucking song like The Brink of Destruction. It's just fucking heavy. It kicks your ass from the beginning. It doesn't start.
You believe this or not?
It just gets right to the point of rocking.
That's it.
So just wanted to say that.
That's actually, we open our shows with that, and it's pretty live with all the big amps and all the drums and all that stuff. We still bring walls of Marshalls. We still bring walls of Ampeg 810 cabinets. I don't skimp You come to see us, you get your money's worth. And we bring in big drums, big drum risers, special effects, whatever we can bring in that we can get in the building. I still believe in all that. I still think that's all part of the show. I think that's part of, because a lot of one of the things that gripes me about some bands, they've got to the point where they show up and they've got like, they do the whole show playing through some pedal or something. And don't get me wrong, it works, but it ain't going to work like, hooking up a JCM 800 and a Les Paul. It ain't going to do that. It's at all, it's just not happening. And live, it makes the difference. And your audience can tell this stuff. They hear it, they go, yeah, it's got to be good. And we actually take a lot of pride and a lot of work into making sure that everything is, sounds the best that we can get it. I mean, everything, the drums, the bass, vocals, guitars, we want it all. And there's no backing tracks. There's no fake stuff. Like I said, it's all real. And I won a bunch of music awards back in, I think it was 2007 and 8. I won the Charlotte Music Awards for Best Male Vocalist in 2008. And in 2007, I think we won Best Hard Rock Band. And we got to play some pretty interesting shows because of those little awards. And I'm not a big award show guy, but it was an interesting experience to be a part of it and to get to meet. I got to meet like some pretty big national guys that were on the show because of that. And you got to share my crazy Southern heavy metal vision. We call it Southern heavy metal because it's all hard rock and heavy metal and guitar rock, but it has a twinge of Southern music in it. Yeah. And we've had issues over the years where people would label us, you're a Southern rock band. I'd be like, nah, Brink of Destruction's not Southern rock.
Well, no.
But there is still this element of the Southern thing just comes because we can't help from where I'm from or where even my bass player is from. He's from here too. So we kind of drag the Southern thing in. We can't really get rid of it. I played Delta Blues Slide in the middle of a heavy metal song. If you listen to Delta Magic off the Brink of Destruction album, I played Delta Blues Slide in a super overdriven heavy metal song with double bass. And it's different. It's unique, and to us anyway. And it makes it different with singing, with vocals, and that's just part of our, our genetic makeup. We kind of know we kind of know where we're going. It's just, we're trying to drag all this the Brink of Destruction and the Blue and the Gray album and the Hand of God song, all that stuff. We're dragging all of it to play live, and we're hoping that people enjoy it. The Hand of God had a strange song. As a strange thing. I'm not I don't know a lot about the Christian rock heavy metal music scene. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that when we first cut the album, that song had got on one of these sites and it took off for like a year. I mean, we had all these people calling us and going, oh man, and I'm going, okay, sure. If you guys like it, that's fine. I didn't really write it for that. I mean, but it's okay. I mean, I'll roll with it. We're good. So it was just strange how we, our outreach is strange. So we get all kinds. For sure.
I'm always like I said, not to get into religion, but me personally, I am a Christian. Van Zandt, the front man from Lynyrd Skynyrd, did a Christian album, and I love listening to it. And I'm always looking for like good songs to listen to, because in the morning, that's what I need to do to deal with the rest of the day. And like I said, not pushing religion on anybody, but that's just me personally. There is looking for something that sounds good. And the album that Van Zandt did, the Christian album, it's a really great record. It's still.
Now, was it Ronnie Van Zandt or Johnny Van Zandt that did the Christian album?
Ronnie.
Well, I learned this over the years, and I have some wonderful friends that worked with Skynyrd for years, and I will say that Ronnie Van Zandt is, he is absolutely was one of the best songwriters, gifted individuals there ever was or ever will be, and Lynyrd Skynyrd they're. The fact that they focused on music, they focused on songs, and it was all real. It was all, just stripped down music, and it was brilliant because of that. And a lot of bands overshoot the runway, and Ronnie Van Zant and the original Leonard Skinner, that was it. That was probably, I always say that because I stop and think, because my number one favorite Southern rock guy of all time will be Greg Allman. The Allman Brothers, to me, was number one in Southern rock and always will be, in my opinion. But number two is Ronnie Van Zant and Leonard Skinner. And there is no three. There is no three.
But,
it's just those guys, and that's it.
That band, Leonard Skinner, when I saw them live, it was like seeing Six frontman, because everybody on that stage was all over the place playing and just kicking ass. The bass player at the time was the original bass player from the Black Crowes. He had on the big hat, playing the hell out of the bass, and they really put on a freaking show.
Yeah, Leonard Skinner is definitely a force to reckon with. I was very honored. I made good friends with Alan Collins' sister, and I used to sit and do the same thing to her like I did Pete. I would sit and bug her for hours, talk to her about Alan Collins, because Alan Collins was one of the greatest guitar players of all time. And nobody's ever going to top Freebird. It just ain't gonna happen. And we used to close it a long time ago when I was doing all the barroom circuits and stuff. I used to close every show with Freebird, and the people always loved it. And I did that for years and years and years. And then when I started just focusing on my own thing, I kind of just slowed down doing it. I didn't say stop, but I started working on my own stuff more. But Leonard Skinner's will always be a big influence, and the Allman Brothers as well. And I bring all that, the guitar power of these bands was so huge. Gary Rosenthal and Ricky Medlock, and you can't you got Blackfoot, Blackfoot was an incredible band. And actually they are the unofficial godfather of the Joe Davis band, because I made friends with Charlie Hargrett. That's a story that I was trying to get to. I forgot. Back, and I think it was 2008 or 2009, my story was on the cover of Guitar World magazine, where I had found Duane Allman's 57 Gold Top Les Paul guitar. It was the guitar that Derek and the Dominoes used to record the song Layla. And I found the guitar. The guitar was known in Florida. People had been going down there and looking at it. Nobody could prove if it was the real Duane Allman guitar or not. And I finally wound up taking old pictures of it and comparing it to the pictures. This guy named Scott had the guitar in Florida. And what I did is I actually matched up these trapezoids. I matched these up, and they were like a fingerprint because they're made of a mashed material. And so I matched them up with the pictures of Duane Allman's old pictures and the guitar. And it absolutely identified the guitar as the real Duane Allman guitar. I called Warren Haynes and told him about it. Derek Trucks had been borrowing the guitar already. He was skeptical. Everybody was skeptical. But when I got to show it to Warren, I showed him the trapezoids. I said, look, these are the identical. If it's not the same body, it's the same neck. It's the same fretboard. And it's the same body, because Scott actually, Charlie Hargrett from Blackfoot found that guitar in a music store way back in the day. And the guitar was in bad shape. And Scott saved the guitar by sending it back to Gibson and having it refinished by Tom Murphy. And that's the guy that probably built it when it was new. And so the guitar was refinished. A lot of people stuck their nose up at it and said, it's not the same guitar. But I can tell you, it is the same guitar. And I wound up doing a record with it called the Skydog Woody Project. My friend Gary Harper was next door neighbors with Alan Woody, the bass player for Government Mule. So we go in. This gets crazy. We make this record using Duane Allman's 57 Gold Top, and his moniker was Skydog. They called him the Skydog. And then Alan Woody was the bass player for the Allman Brothers and Government Mule, and he had passed away, back in, I don't know what year it was, 96. I don't know what year it was, 2004. I don't know. But anyway, Alan's dad let us take the guitars, and we go to the studio. And we cut this album called the Skydog Woody Project Guitar Magic, and it turned out to be an incredible little album. We cut it all in one day in a studio in South Carolina, and cut it all one day live with no. We went in there with no songs, no ideas. Just let's just play something and make a big mess with these guitars. And it wound up. We didn't use any technology or anything like that. And my friend Gary had played bass forever with all these people, and it wound up being a cool little album. And it wound up just being a fun. It sounds a little almanish, and everything like that. And then we got done cutting the record. I showed it to Warren Haynes. I showed it to all these people, and it was featured in all these magazines, which helped us get helped me get stuff out, and helped me get Scott our Woody Project stuff out. Basically we didn't really go out and play any shows under the title or anything like that. We didn't really do anything else with it. It was just a recording project. And then we put the guitar in the Allman Brothers Museum in Macon, Georgia. And then everybody and their brother went and picked it up and played it. The Allman Brothers took it to New York. Derek Trucks took it to Australia. All these people. We have pictures on our JDB Rocks on Facebook. We have all the different artists that borrowed it. I mean, we had Ricky Skaggs borrowed it. Charlie Daniels borrowed it. Gary Rosington. There's pictures. Kurt Hammett got it and used it from Metallica. And there's pictures of all this on that JDB Rocks Facebook page. And so we put all that out. And then basically somebody offered, I guess they sold the guitar at a New York auction a couple of years ago. And then the guitar's been in and out of the museum a few times, and nobody's really said who the new owner is or anything. That was kind of the whole thing. I mean, it was like, we got to record with Dwayne Allman's guitar, and he had used it on the first couple Allman Brother records. And it was really cool, and it was a fun thing, and it was a big part of everything that happened. It got me some serious magazine attention. I mean, it was some, and I think we did one TV show with it, and so it really took off. It's just a crazy guitar story.
Oh, absolutely.
If you look up guitar, you go to guitarworld.com and just type in Guitar Lust. You can read the whole story about the alligators and all the other stuff. You'll have to go read the story. It's pretty far out. There's some alligators involved.
That's awesome.
That's a true story.
Yeah, Alan had passed away in 2000, and it was funny because I love Blackfoot, and the thing is, Blackfoot started to grow on me honestly more in recent years, and I don't mean recent as in super recent years, because this goes back like 15 years now. But I'm good friends with Tim Rossi. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I know Tim.
Yeah, but Tim flies the fucking flag, dude, for Blackfoot. Since Ricky he's still the guy, but he's more like the band manager now, if anything, or at least was. Tim doesn't seem. I mean, I'm sure I know that Tim still plays out and stuff, but it doesn't seem that Blackfoot. Well, and what I like to refer to fondly, because Tim and I are very cool and very tight, is that I refer to it fondly as Tim Rossi's Blackfoot. And
I think that's a good title for it.
Yeah,
it should be titled that. Tim Rossi's Blackfoot,
right? Yeah,
I agree.
But I haven't heard of Blackfoot really being that active, so I don't really know what's going on much there. But Tim used to come to town quite a bit, playing a venue outside of Baltimore called Fishhead Cantina, and that's where I went and saw Blackfoot, because I wasn't super familiar with the band, but I knew of the band. I knew Ricky from Lynyrd Skynyrd, that was his band, but he wasn't there. I've never seen Ricky with the band. I'd only seen Tim and his band members when it came to that, and he would tell me stories about basically Ricky is kind of like an advisor of the band now, kind of like the band manager. He comes out on stage with the band periodically for like special gigs and stuff like that. But yeah, the band really started to grow on me, because I started when I would watch the band live, just because I would go to hang out with my friend and obviously watch the set. But then as I started learning these songs and listening to these songs, I started really having an appreciation for just how good those songs were.
Oh, they were crafted very well. There's great music come out of Blackfoot. He's very musical and super creative guy. I think he brought new blood or new power to Blackfoot. And I remember when he got the nod to go into that. I remember because I was talking to him on Facebook, and I was like, "So you were the new guy," you know? And it worked though. I mean, their energy level was back towards what the original Blackfoot was like, you know? Because there's videos, man. If people really knew the stories, I spent time with Charlie Hargret, and he was telling me, like, you know, the original Blackfoot did shows with Iron Maiden. Think about that for a minute, and being able to, you know, whoop up on Iron Maiden. You're doing something. There's videos. If you go on the internet on YouTube, there's a couple videos of Blackfoot playing, and if you watch those videos, a couple older videos, and they're really jacked up. Well, those shows were the ones they did with Iron Maiden, and then they brought Iron Maiden over here. People don't realize that the Iron Maiden didn't just come over here blind. Charlie Hargret, Ricky Medlock, those guys, they brought Iron Maiden over here. And they told me that. And I was sitting there, holy crap. And that's when Charlie Hargret goes, Joe, we were talking about Southern heavy metal, and I'm building the Southern heavy metal thing. And and he was like, we already did that. And I was like, we're going to do it again. You know, and he was really cool. I said, so if you guys are the godfathers of Southern heavy metal, then I guess you're our brain trust over this band. So, because Charlie Hargret was a great guitar, or is a great guitar player too. I mean, in his own rights. And so yeah, Blackfoot's a huge thing, man. That's big stuff here.
Absolutely.
I huge influence. So I mean, you know, I love all that stuff. So.
Oh, for sure. So
and
Joe,
a lot of people.
Oh yeah. Total. Oh, absolutely, dude. So, Joe, before I kick it back up to Angel, there's a question that I kind of want to ask you on the level of like peers. And so you were talking about, you know, your band and your influences and your style being, you know, Southern heavy metal, not so much like Southern rock. But when you look at your band and how it's perceived and the bands you get to play out with, when you look at other bands that a music fan might consider your peers, and I mean bands like Texas Hippie Coalition, Blackberry Smoke, you know, Black Stone Cherry, how do you look at some of those bands that I just mean like the common like Southern rock fan or Southern music fan might consider your peers? Like, how do you look at some of the bands that are probably cataloged with you?
I love the ones that are. I have, of course, I have ones that I'm very, very partial to, because of different reasons. I remember playing shows with bands like Black Smoke before they were Blackberry Smoke, and I remember. So I was when they came out with all their stuff, I was like, wow, they really stepped this up. People don't know too. People are not familiar with this. But the drummer that passed away from Blackberry Smoke, his name is eluding me. Brett Turner was actually in a death metal band, and people don't know that, and they do know that. And I spent years sending Brett everything that I was recording, everything I was working on, and there's still videos. I know it's hard to believe. Brett Turner, brother, were in a death metal or black metal band, and there's videos of it on YouTube, and so they were totally into metal, totally into Black Sabbath. They were totally into all that. So it was very partial to Black Smoke. I was like, I know where these guys' roots are. They look heavy stuff. And music's really like band. I mean, fair listen. You know, like if their music's honest and sincere. I've seen some bands that weren't, and it just was heartbreaking. I see guys just kind of making some noise, and but I really, the bands that are, you know, you talking about Texas Hippie Coalition, I think we're playing a show with them in August. And yeah, I think we are. And the last week of August, we're in Ohio at the big bike thing, Easy Riders Bike Rodeo in Bloomfield, Ohio. And we are playing one show for sure with the singer, the guy that used to sing for Saliva. And we're doing that. We're going to be there all week. So it's like a festival thing. There's going to be bands like, you know, for days out there. So it's going to be pretty cool. But I don't look at anybody as any less or more. Josie Scott, thank you. I appreciate that, because I've been having to catch up on all this stuff. Usually I'm so busy with things. I my band will be telling me we're playing with so and so, and I'll be like, okay, great. Thanks. We are. That's usually what I'm the last one to know. But yeah, I like so much music, man. So I'm not jealous of anybody ever anywhere, because I know that music's a creative thing that is looked at different from different standpoints. So people look at music for, musicians are bad about tearing bands apart and stuff like that. And I'm a musician, so I mean, my mouth will run sometimes. I'll hear something that'll aggravate me, and I'll run my mouth at it, and I probably shouldn't. But for the most part, if the music's sincere and the people are really, they're really serious about what they do, and it shines up and it comes through, then I'll probably dig it, because I like the real people connection over it. Like if there's somebody up on stage pouring their heart out and they're really doing it, it's magic. It's like, okay, that's cool. Let's listen to this. Yeah, I like this. So, but there's just so many. I love a lot of music. I listen to a lot of different, from classical music to classical guitar music to, heavy metal. And I listen to a lot of stuff. So I don't know how subjective I can be, but I do like, I'm pretty equal. I'll put it that way. I'm pretty equal when it comes to bands. And if we play a show at a band, and they're really good, more power to them. Great. And I love it. I mean, I don't know. A lot of bands, they get on this thing where they can't play with somebody, or they're better than us, or we're better than them, or all that. I don't look at any of it that way at all. I just can't, because I think music's about sharing what's emotionally inside of you instead of some kind of technical thing.
I know. For sure. I've always said this on a million episodes, that my only real gripe when it comes to the rock and metal community is I do feel that at the times that we have the tendency to kind of be our own worst gatekeepers, whether we mean to do it or not. Sometimes I find that, we have a habit of kind of being our own worst gatekeepers. But Angel, I'm going to kick it back up to you, my friend. But at the same time, Metal Summoners, you guys rock. We see all you guys taking, hanging out with us. Adam, Amy, you guys have been fantastic. We love that you guys are kicking it with us. But it is going to be last call for alcohol. Joe's been absolutely fantastic. We're going to rock out with him for a little while longer. And of course, assuming he's down for the cause, which we believe he is down for the cause, we would love to, of course, always have him back anytime he's got more to talk to us about. But it is going to be last call for alcohol. So anything final that you want to put in, any comments that you want to make, don't be shy. Always get involved. That's the kind of show that Angel and I run, is we want you guys to be involved. But we're going to kick it with Joe for a little while longer, but it is that time, friends. Go ahead, Angel.
Just want to ask, when it comes to songwriting, because some songwriters, they like to write stories, and others like to write from their own personal experiences. As a songwriter, what do you prefer to write from?
I like to write from personal experience, but every now and then I'll hear somebody say something that will trigger a lyrical idea to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So it's good to be able to do both. Somebody said the lyric to me the other day, just the lyric, that's a good problem to have. Yeah, sometimes, unanswered prayers are a great thing. Thinking about that and put myself in a situation that I could write out of. I could say, okay, I could put myself in somebody else's shoes. Is this guy's wife lived? It was the greatest thing that ever happened to him. He just didn't realize it at the time. That's a good problem to have, and people don't realize it. So you can put yourself in that position and try to write about it. So I like that too. A lot of my ideals in the songwriting, I for some reason I'm always writing good versus evil. It seems like, or I'm writing positive versus negative, and I do a lot of that, and I don't know if I mean to or not. I just usually write what comes to mind, and I like it to be within my Joe Davis band sound and my thing. So I try to put it all together that way. But it is good to be able to write from different perspectives, and I've done that before. I mean, I've done, I love music so much, so I've experimented with all kinds of song ideas. I probably probably got something never released, but I've got stuff, and somebody says, "Hey, that's pretty cool," and I'll go, "Okay." And I do a lot of writing too. There's a guy named Roy August who wrote the hits for the Oak Ridge Boys in Alabama and all these bands out there in Nashville. And he calls me all the time trying to, work with me about songs and stuff. I'm always sending him ideas. He'll send me ideas. And we kind of just, it's interesting to hear his take on it too, because he's way older than me. And his lyrics are positioned different. His melodies are different and things like that. So it's good to write with people to get their take on things. It's good to get their philosophy, is to hear it, because it helps you in your songwriting. It helps you as a creator. But I was going to say this before I forgot. We was talking about heavy metal music. There was a big thing. The biggest thing that I think ever had lured me to heavy metal music was the fact that you could be yourself in heavy metal music, where a lot of other types of music, they weren't as accepting. And it was like you could be, crazy, or you could be whatever. And as the general public could come in and you could write songs, and it seems like, the heavy metal community would come together. And it was always like that. And I think that was a big thing why my heart always belonged to the heavy metal, because it was not, didn't write music to get popular, didn't write music to just make money, it was to move people. To move somebody, to see if they feel it, to see if you get a reaction, whether it's a good reaction or a bad reaction, you get a reaction. And I think that's for a lot of other types of music, or just, you hear it in the background, you hear it, I don't want to be the background, I'll be the face, that's the plan, I wanted this presentation, So, and I think in heavy metal music, it's the most powerful form of music in my thoughts. It's the most powerful form, but then you can go branch out into all this other stuff you can add to it. You might hear a heavy metal band with keyboards in it, or unbelievable, keyboards, or horns, or even violins or cellos, and you still got your Sabotage comes to mind, and so it's like that. I think that's the reason why heavy metal to me is the broadest paintbrush you can paint with, for lack of a better word.
My final question: what are the plans for the rest of the year as far as shows and more releases?
Well, all my management people are wanting me to make music videos for all the new music that we're working on, and so I'm picking and choosing, kind of looking at music videos. But I'm thinking, if the shows go good in Ohio at the end of August, if everything goes off without a hitch, we're probably going to shoot a live, I don't know, say DVD, but we're going to shoot a live concert video. And we're planning on pretty much going full blast. I mean, we're opening with The Brink of Destruction, if that tells you anything. And it's going to be full blast. And we're going to film it. We're going to try to make a promo out of it and then put that out. And I think we're going to be, we're working with our new manager. His name's Ron. He took over because Tony passed away, and Ron Kyle, he worked with a lot of artists and stuff, and we're going to be working on putting together theater shows and going out and playing some theaters. I'm looking at Philadelphia right now, but I'm still not 100% sure that's where I want to be at this point. But we have a lot of friends there. And I didn't really look, but where are you guys out of?
I'm 90 minutes from Philly.
And I'm about 90 minutes. And I'm about 90 minutes from Philly. So Angel lives in New Jersey.
And I didn't know that.
And
we're Jersey. We're talking to the Landis Theater.
Yep, that's in Maryland. We put some shows there.
Yeah. We're probably gonna wind up there. It's in the works. The Landis Theater. Tony, we actually would have had dates if Tony hadn't passed away, and then Ron's working on it now. So there's another theater up there near Philly that we were talking to as well, and we've got a lot of friends and bands up there. For some reason, I played Philly back in, oh my gosh, I want to say it's the Electric Factory, and I want to say it was in 2004, maybe 2003.
Oh wow,
maybe. 2002. Yeah, and so that's the last time I was there. Well, playing anyway, and so that was interesting. So
But
you know,
dude,
that's the plan.
April lives in Jersey, and I live just outside of Baltimore.
Baltimore. Wow. Back in the day, my old band, one of my old bands played a Hammerjack.
Hammerjacks, yep.
Back in the day, and that's I've started to tell my age. But back in the day, every band that passed through Baltimore played Hammerjacks.
Hammerjacks, Thunderdome, Rams Head Live.
Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. And but it was fun, man. Baltimore was a wide open place, and so everybody else seemed like that. All those venues you just mentioned stayed packed. It didn't matter if you were just passing through and you stuck your head in the door. Those places were full of people.
Totally.
I mean, it was insane. I mean, there was another place up there too. I think you said that Thunderdome thing.
Thunderdome. Yeah.
Yeah. We went there just one night just to hang out, and it was like, this is actually too much for me. So, yeah. So, we're from I'm in Kannapolis, North Carolina, home of George Clinton, P-Funk All-Stars, the George Clinton. And then Dale Earnhardt, of course, the NASCAR legend guy. And we're 30 minutes outside of Charlotte. And Charlotte's got some really good original bands that are aching to get out, that are doing stuff. They're coming. There's some good ones. And they're metal oriented, so there's going to be some of them are flat out heavy metal. Some really good ones. And I'm actually planning on putting together some shows with them because I want us all to work together. I'll work with anybody that will let us plug an amp in. Let's just do it. So, yeah.
If you do like the Landis Theater and you need a host, let me know because I've hosted some shows there over at the Landis Theater.
Oh, that'd be cool. We've been talking to them. I got tons of pictures from inside the place, and I was like, man, I don't even scratch their floor. I've seen the pictures. It was gorgeous. The place was gorgeous, and I was like, I think we're too rowdy to play there. They were like, no. You're gonna play here. I think they had the Dead Daisies in there last year or year before last.
Nice.
The rock band, and if I was like, well, if the Dead Daisies can play there, I guess we can play there. So it might be okay. And but there's some good venues up that way. But we're trying to. It's just like y'all's show and my show, my Joe Davis Band show. It's about getting people to come together.
Definitely.
And even having these formats like this is really it's such a big thing. I mean, it's bigger. I mean, like I know a lot of bands and they're out playing, they're working, but this big networking thing that we're doing, it's actually the future of music. It's actually the future because the mainstream, the TV people, the big networks and stuff like that, they're all about money. All they care about is money. They don't care about anything. And so to get a band on a TV show is impossible because they don't care. It's all about the money. So like every great band that's out there that's struggling to get there they're up against a brick wall. And so, and that brick wall is about impossible to move. And with shows like y'all's, I'm very thankful because y'all are helping move the wall. That's the main thing. It's getting around that wall. So like I said, I greatly appreciate what y'all do.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, North Carolina is great. I mean, there's so much great music there, so many great bands. In fact, my friend Abby, his band, because I'm a big like gothic, like horror punk guy, and so my girlfriend and I, Megan, she and I actually met at a concert for this guy Wednesday 13 that we're both really big fans of, and he's originally from North Carolina. Well, his former band member Abby, his band, the Graveyard Boulevard, is a North Carolina band.
I love those guys.
Oh, dude, I love Abby.
I could tell you all kinds of stuff. Now, the Maniac Spider Trash, right? The band Maniac Spider Trash, their bass player was my bass player in my other band, Dark Horse.
Oh, really?
And but Ray, Abby, I shop at his comic book store,
Yeah.
and
Yep. Monsters Comics.
I've known Ray. I've known Abby. I call him Ray. I've known him for
We can
35
call him
years.
Ray. It's
Probably.
all good.
Well, and I remember when Wednesday 13 was in. I remember when he was in high school. Now I'm older than him, but I remember when they were in high school, and they were coming out and playing shows, and they did Maniac Spider Trash. It was Michael Patrick was the bass player, and he played in Maniac Spider Trash, but he also played in my band Dark Horse. I was in Dark Horse. Was just an insane rock band that we did for years around Charlotte. We did everything, and but I have mad respect for Ray and his band, and I support them a million times over because I'm pretty sure I've done shows with all those guys at different points in my life, and I think they're another band that's like I would do it. If I had the money and the sponsorship, I would take them and do a whole tour. Scott, the bass player with Ray, he's playing with a band called Whiskey Hellchild, who lives right up the street, and they mean, and I know those guys, and they're a great band you should have on, and they're great, and they got their new album is insane, and but yeah, I mean, I've known Ray for a long time, man.
No, hell yeah, Joe. Send me their
That's
info.
cool.
Angel and I are currently booking for September, so we would absolutely love to talk to them for sure. But Ray's fantastic. So I'm an OG Maniac Spider Trash guy. Like I go all the way back to that band, and
really,
I'm 43 years old. Like I love Maniac Spider Trash, and of course, obviously, that got me into Frankenstein Drag Queens, which I absolutely adore. Like I go from Wednesday, basically Joe, all the way up to what Wednesday is now, and he's back to play. He's playing back in Baltimore like a week before my birthday. So I was like, well, I know what my birthday show is going to be this year. It's going to be back seeing Wednesday 13. Yeah, my buddy Ashes is currently on guitar for him right now. And Ashes is played with like Wayne Static and Devil Driver and Davey Suicide and all these other like great bands and stuff. But no, I mean, Ray is so great. So I reached out to Ray like a while before, he was on the show because he was on last year, but I think I wanted him because Angel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was one of our Halloween episodes. He might even have been the Halloween episode because I really wanted that. But I remember reaching out to Ray, and Ray was a real doll. Like he was so great. But you could also tell that he's a professional too. I messaged him and I was like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. And I'd love to invite you to do this. And he's like, it sounds awesome, man. Will you send me the page, send me the link, just kind of let me know what you guys do so I can watch a little bit and I can check it out. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And he was super duper down. He was really cool. And he was such a genuinely great guy. So like Angel and I are big like merch guys where we really value supporting bands. And neither one of us are afraid of our bank accounts, and we are down to support bands. So I had ordered. I couldn't make up my mind between two T-shirts because I've been dying for some Graveyard Boulevard shit, and like I have their early albums already, but I was like, I need more stuff for them, and I damn sure need a shirt. Couldn't make up my mind between two shirts, so I bought them both. But I was like, you know what? Let me order these two shirts. Let me order like his latest album that I don't have yet. Ray sent me a box like this freaking big, dude. Like I was expecting like 2 T-shirts and a CD in like a bubble envelope, and I got a box that I had to, like, my mail delivery person had to call me from the call box to get let into the building because he couldn't put it in my mailbox. And it was like 3 CDs, stickers, T-shirts, and I was like 4 posters. I was like, Ray, he mentioned he was going to send me some shit, but at the same time, I was like, Ray, dude, you really went above and beyond, dude. Like, that I'm so appreciative of
Ray.
you. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, he's what I'm talking about. He's like the real deal. So
Yeah.
that's the whole what I'm talking about. People that really believe what they do.
Yes.
Ray's one of them, and he really means what he does. He's an entertainer. He likes to write music, and he does a great job at it. He's one of the around here that needs more people in their music. They need more exposure, more shows, being more things, because he's got something original that basically, the Wednesday 13 thing was all the offspring of this. And I was going to run in there and get it, but I actually have an original Maniac Spider Trash 8x10 on my wall.
Nice.
Right now. I mean, it's the original one with Wednesday 13, Michael Patrick, and their drummer, and his name was Doug.
Oh, wow.
I don't know his stage name, but I knew it was Doug. But I have the picture. If I had a minute, I could get it and show it to you. But
Wednesday,
so I've known him forever.
Oh yeah. When Wednesday finally released a physical copy of one of the Maniac albums, I absolutely had to have it, and I ordered it from him, and it was great. So I was covering a show. I was supposed to interview Wednesday at that show, but he was really sick. I've since interviewed Wednesday a few times, and he's always been so good to me. But I was standing outside the venue because I was texting back and forth, but I hadn't really heard from him, and I was just waiting outside of this venue, outside of the bus. I was 4 hours from home because that was the venue that they offered me for the interview for the show. So I was like, all right. So I had a hotel room and so on and so forth. And eventually Jack, the guitar player, came out to talk to me because he could see me hanging out. And I was like, hey, Jack, I'm really sorry to bother you, bro, but can you do me a favor? Can you just touch base with Wednesday real quick? I'm supposed to interview him tonight, but I do know that he's under the weather. Will you just, ask him? He's like, absolutely. I got you. No worries. Sure enough, he came back out 2 minutes later. He's like, dude, I am really sorry. Wednesday just got out of the shower and still looks like hell. He's not going to be able to do the interview tonight. I am really sorry. It's like, dude, don't even sweat it. Would you do me a favor simply as a fan? I'm a huge Maniac Spider Trash fan. Will you see if he'll sign my CD? Sure enough, he came back out of the bus 2 minutes later with, Wednesday had signed my CD, and he gave me a couple of guitar picks. So they're overall a really good camp. But no, that's super cool, dude, because I love that Maniac Spider Trash stuff, dude. It's so great.
Yeah. The bass player on the Maniac Spider Trash stuff, his name was Michael Patrick. And Michael was the bass player for Dark Horse, and me and him had started. He was in Maniac Spider Trash when he started playing with me, and we joined us, got into this Dark Horse thing, and Mike would be on the road. Mike always wore, he dressed like he was in Maniac Spider Trash. We used to give him hell, but all the chicks liked him, and all the gothic people followed him like he was God or something. I mean, he was. We'd all be over there looking at him going man, he's been hanging out with his, Ray and Wednesday 13 and all that stuff. What are you guys into over there? And Mike would just be crazy. He would come dressed. He would wear a dress. Mike would show up in our band wearing whatever he was wearing from Maniac Spider Trash, and it was crazy, And we wound up. Michael was so out of hand, and he come from that band. He come from Ray and Wednesday 13 and all that. But it brought a different or Dark Horse that he talked to me about Marilyn Manson, and I'd be like, I don't listen to any of that. He'd say, stop. And I said, I don't listen to White Zombie. He'd say, stop. And I say, well, hold on, listen to the, But Mike, when he came into Dark Horse, we had a singer that was into the drunken Rolling Stones and the Doors and Johnny Cash and this whole rowdy Southern rock, big mean redneck singing. And then I was into my Sabbath and my Hendrix and my metal. And Mike came in from Fire Trash with he listened to White Zombie and Marilyn Manson and Alice Cooper, so much Alice Cooper. And he would bring Element into Dark Horse. And I'd be like, we had the crazy writing thing, bring my metal to his metal. And then we had these different metal influences. And it was beautiful. Mike passed away don't know what year he passed, 2002, 2003, he passed away. And, you know, I remember like me and all the guys that were in Spider Trash and Dark Horse and everybody, we all went to the funeral there. We're all just looking at each other. It was really weird because we all shared Mike together. You know, me and Ray, you know, Ray played with him forever and everything. And it was just crazy. And best players in the world, even though I always wanted to strike him all the time, but he was still one of my favorites. He will always be. I may get a chance. I'll take a picture of that poster on the wall in there. It's pretty cool. It's actually their very first 8x10 they ever made, and it's got all of them. You know, if you could give me 1 second, I'll run and get it. Hang on.
Of course. Oh shit. He gone. So, on that note, hang tight with us, Metal Summoners. Brian, we see your questions, bro. I was getting ready to kick it up to Angel to touch base on that, to get your questions answered before we completely wrap everything up. But Metal Summoners, you guys have been absolutely awesome. We are going to bring a close to this episode very, very shortly. I'm just going to, we want to allow for Joe to come back. There he is. And get back up to wrap up everything. Yo, dude.
I'm back. Check this out.
Oh, dude, that's so cool.
That is the original Maniac Spider Trash 8x10. And that's Big Mike, the guy that played bass for me for like 8 or 9 years. And of course, you got Abby right here.
Yep.
And then, of course, you got Mr. Wednesday in the front. And drummer Doug. I don't know. Remember what Doug? They called him Zero, I think, maybe.
Oh, sick. Yeah, Sicko.
That's
Zero.
the original. Sicko, yeah, that's what it was. But that's the original picture. I told Ray I had that, and he was like, "There's no way you have that." And I said, "Hey, yeah." And I actually still have a Maniac Spider Trash T-shirt.
Oh my god.
Yeah, black with a big yeah. I'm
always on the lookout for random Maniac Spider Trash stuff, just to see if anybody's ever been unloading stuff, and it just doesn't exist.
You talk to these guys, countless stuff, and I said what they do because it's real. And I think that's the appeal. What makes anybody like anything is if they feel like they can be a part of it. They can feel it. Because my old band Dark Horse, I don't think we played any shows with them back then. I think we did some stuff earlier on. I can't remember. It's been a long time, but I've always known that all of those guys. Like I said, I remember when Wednesday 13. I don't think he was even the singer. He was playing rhythm guitar.
He was bass player.
A bass player. That's probably what it was. No, yeah, it probably was. Yeah, I think he was just playing bass. But that's a long time ago, man. That was great stuff, though. It's great, good stuff for the whole entire area of musicians down here because it, I got to see him at some point. I got to get down there and check him out.
Absolutely.
I'll be talking to him.
Oh, definitely. Well, January 2026, he's back in the States. He's literally in the UK right now, about to start the European tour tomorrow. But yeah, I know he's got either a late 2025 into 2026 tour, or it starts in January 2026, because I know that the next Baltimore show is January 19th or something like that. But Angel, let me kick it back up to you, brother, because it looks like Brian had a couple of questions that he wanted to ask before we allow Joe to plug his socials and enjoy his evening.
Let me start with this one because it's the toughest question of the three. Hank Williams or Johnny Cash?
I would probably have to say Hank Williams.
The closest you've come to death?
Oh my gosh. That's a strange question, but I think I had a guy pull a gun on me one time. That might count.
Yeah, I had that happen to me one time.
And then, mm, mm, I think that's probably it.
A lighthearted question. Your favorite cartoon or cartoon character?
Hmm. Uh, Seems like I watch probably I watch Family Guy. So Peter Griffin probably. For right now, I'll think about it later and I'll be like, what did I do that for? I don't know. I like a lot of stuff, so I don't know. That would be my first go to.
Nice. My probably my favorite cartoon character is probably Popeye because I grew up on the old cartoons and I loved watching Popeye. And my favorite cartoon overall is probably still The Simpsons.
Love The Simpsons.
Yeah,
always love The Simpsons. That's great stuff there. I try to catch all that when I'm not working.
Absolutely, man, for sure. But Joe, man, it's been an absolute pleasure this evening, like really rocking out. But of course, before we let you go officially, please let everybody know where you and the Joe Davis Band can be found.
All right. Yeah, I'm easy to find on social media, and I like to talk to everybody as much as I can. So I like it when people send messages and things. But under Super Guitarzilla on Facebook is my personal page. And on Facebook, JDB Rocks is our band page. I answer all the mail personally, so feel free to send stuff. And then there's thejoedavisband.com where we got a lot of other pictures, a lot of other things that we have released and done as far as more history on the band and things like that at thejoedavisband.com. And we're working on an all new merch page. We have all new t-shirts in and of all kinds and all kinds of stuff I haven't seen yet. So we're slowly rolling out a big line of Davis Band t-shirts and all that. So please check all that out. And all the albums are also on Bandcamp. Everything, bandcamp.com, Joe Davis Band, everything's on. You can sample everything. If you like it, buy it. If you don't, let's go to hell. I mean, it's just that simple. We got a lot of music from the Sky Woody Project on our Bandcamp page. And so if anybody wants to check all that stuff out and hear it all, they can. So it's all there. We try to be really wide open with everybody so everybody can get a hold of us. And my band's the same way. The guys are in the band. If you message them or you hit them up about something, they're wide open. They're great, friendly, easy to talk to. No rock star BS. So.
Oh, that's awesome, man, for sure. Well, Joe, again, man, thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening, man. The thing that's always the most important to myself and Angel is that you enjoyed yourself, man. You had a good time. You felt respected. You liked the questions that were asked of you. And the most important thing, of course, is that you felt that this interview in any way, shape, or form was for the betterment of yourself and the Joe Davis Band as a whole.
I totally agree. And I appreciate the format to be able to talk about my works. And I really mean that in all kinds of ways, because I believe that shows like yours are helping bring people together. And that's what it's going to take to build a better music community for everybody.
No, absolutely, man. And thank you so much for the kind words. We really absolutely appreciate that so very much. And Metal Summoners, we appreciate you guys so very much. You guys are always awesome. The fact that you guys watch our show, and by watching our show, you're supporting Joe and his band and everything that he's doing, and allowing him to continue to make music and tour and perform for you guys. And ultimately, that's what's most important when it comes to all of this. So that's always something that myself and Angel really like to make sure is out on Front Street for you guys to hear each and every show is your guys' value when you watch our interviews and allowing us to talk to the talent that we get to talk to. As always, we really appreciate you guys. Make sure that you guys are following us as well. You can find Angel at Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram. You can also find him on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Salem.vampire, but you can also find me under Salem Vampire on Facebook as well. And then, of course, our beloved Psycho Steve. You can find him at The Real Psycho Steve on Instagram. You can also find him at PsychoStevePresents.com as well. Joe put out all of his socials. Make sure that you're following him and the band members and the band page for all of their upcoming shows, supporting, the record and the new singles and everything that's coming out, and allowing him to continue doing everything that he's doing. Please follow the Metal Summit on Facebook and on and on YouTube, because that's where you're watching the interviews right now. So please like, follow, and subscribe to those pages. But if you like to know quick, fast, and in a hurry what Angel and I are up to and who we've got coming on, the Instagram page is an important page to follow, because that's where all of our announcements come out first and foremost. So Metal Summoners, thank you again, as always, for supporting the show and rocking out with us. On behalf of myself, Angel, Steve, and of course, the great Joe Davis, we really, really appreciate you guys so much. And we're going to bring it back to the beginning, just like the final show. And again, Ozzy, thank you so much for everything that you did, everything that you gave us, so many gifts, so many great songs, so many amazing albums. Our love goes out to, of course, the Osbourne family, the Black Sabbath camp, Zakk Wylde and the Ozzy Osbourne, band, as well as everybody that's played with him, Jakey Lee, Blasco, and everybody in between. We're going to also give a little bit of love, and of course, our love and respects, of course, to Pete, who you heard Joe talk about extensively at the beginning of the interview as well. So anybody who missed our conversations about Pete, who was the longtime guitar tech for Black Sabbath for almost 30 years, check out the beginning of the interview so you can hear Joe talk about that. But Metal Summoners, again, thank you guys so much. Have yourselves a great rest of the week, an absolutely amazing weekend. Guest announcement will come out over the weekend for the next week's episode. It's already been confirmed. We're really, really looking forward to it. So again, on behalf of myself, Angel, and of course, Joe, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys real soon. Be good. Take care of each other. And as always, you guys have been watching the Metal Summit.